Hello and welcome to Locating Wisdom, the podcast. In this podcast, we speak to entrepreneurs and small business owners within Ireland with the aim of understanding more about their industry and what makes them tick as individuals. I believe everyone has knowledge and wisdom that we can learn from, and that is the premise of this show, to locate that wisdom. In this episode, we have Cein O'Hanlon, a co-founder of ASAP Nutrition. ASAP Nutrition are a vegan protein drink maker who are making waves in that area. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello, Cein, and thank you very much for joining me here today in the debut episode of Locating Wisdom.
Thanks for having
me. So why don't you go ahead and give us a brief description of what your business is, please?
So my business is called ASAP Nutrition Limited, and basically what we do is we make vegan protein milkshakes. So we basically trying to target kind of two demographics, one being vegans who need to get more protein in their diet because it's kind of the most common thing that people say about a vegan diet is it's low protein. So trying to give them an option and educate them. And then the other side of it is trying to give an option to people who currently drink dairy products, such as like Kineticas or Avamore, and give them like a healthier, all natural, lower sugar vegan version that tastes just as good. And yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it sounds brilliant. And, you know, I know you're targeting the Irish market first, and there is a clear niche in that market for exactly what you're trying to offer.
Yeah, 100%. Like in Ireland, it's kind of gas you wouldn't think, but Dublin is now the city with the most vegan options in terms of food in the world.
In the world?
In the world, yeah. And wow. London is the best, I think, per capita, the highest amount of vegans. Maybe that's the two stats I'm thinking of. Yeah, so okay. Dublin's very good for options. Most of them are like foods, restaurants, takeout, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And there's lots of like protein bars, there's lots of protein powders, but there's a clear gap for sort of on-the-go drink. There was nothing there. And there's loads of dairy ones. So the idea kind of generated like about 2 or 3 years ago now when I went vegan, and I would have drank a lot of like Avamore protein milks and stuff like that. Yeah. After the gym, pick it up, just something nice to drink. And like there was literally nothing at all. So we seen that gap and there was no one coming in, and we spent about 1.5 years working on it. So yeah, that niche is still there, and we're filling it at the minute.
Yeah, no, brilliant. It's great to see, you know, healthy options are more than welcome.
Absolutely.
And so what would you say your primary motive for starting the business was?
It's kind of hard to say because it was kind of like a step process. Like I went vegan. I kind of like once you first go vegan, you're just kind of like exploring what food you can eat. It's almost like a clean slate. You kind of have to get rid of nearly everything you were eating beforehand and start again. So like I started eating, when I first went vegan, lots of fiber, lots of beans, lots of broccoli, which basically just like messed up my system and like had me blown out of both ends for a while. So I kind of had to take a step back and figure it out. So then like, you know, looking at protein powders and stuff like that. And then I just started to see there was nothing that I really liked in Ireland. I tried loads of different protein powders, from my bulk powders, from my vegan, from Holland and Barrett, Op Nutrition, all of these. I didn't like any of them. Got quite grainy, or if they were non-grainy, they'd put a lot of fillers in to cover up the grain, which tasted kind of disgusting. Then there's protein bars. Synthetic, exactly. Artificial, like artificial sweeteners, artificial everything. There was protein bars as well. They were like high in sugar, high in calories, low in protein. So basically just like one day I just started whipping up a few shakes at home. Originally I tried to make my own oat milk, but it kept coming out really slimy.
Okay, so the actual process of making milk from the oats itself?
Yeah. So I get the oats and I blend them up. I get the cheesecloth out and make them that way. It had dates in it originally, I'm pretty sure. I was blending up dates, but they just got too bitty. Yeah, there was a lot of playing around. And then it's only when I went up to Dublin to live with you guys, and then I was talking to Paddy about it. He sort of said this was a good idea, and then we really kind of focused in on trying to actually do it and try and solve that problem.
And Paddy, that's your business partner?
Co-founder. Paddy's my business partner, yeah. Co-founder, yeah.
Yeah. Man Paddy. So he's he's the spark for driving the business.
He ignited, yeah. Like I had loads of ideas, and basically he was just a kind of driving force to get the ideas out of my head and actually start to do something. And still the way it goes today, like he's just a very big driving force. So he's a real push to get things done, which is amazing for a small company because we have to do so much ourselves.
Yeah, you have to, do everything.
pretty much
absolutely everything. Clean the toilets, everything.
Literally everything, yeah.
And so you think having that like sort of dynamic, having someone to bounce ideas off, and like you say, so Paddy's is sort of, he's someone who really wants to get something done. Kind of like what you said there, you have a lot of ideas. It's good to have someone to kind of take some of the ideas and push to drive it forward.
Absolutely. And like it can work in not just that, but in like different ways, like even just different personality traits work. So although he wants to get things done, I am almost like, I need to have certain things done, and I get like very impatient if things aren't done. Whereas he'll try and like calm me down in a sense and like put structure on it and say, no, we'll get this done at this stage. And it's fine as long as we can structure it, it's good. But even things like when we were making the drinks initially, like I would have just got bed into food science and understand everything behind how all of the different components of drink are going to work together, how like different pHs are going to work with different proteins and different things you put in it to like counteract different flavors. And Paddy was happy letting me do that, whereas he could focus more on, at the time, reaching out to manufacturers and going and calls to them to get us someone that we could work with. So a lot of the times we just take different parts of the business. So now that we've launched, it's more, I kind of look after more social media marketing, that side of things. And Paddy's more on the invoicing and shop side, dealing with like our distributor. We kind of split it up like that. Whereas I think if you had all of this just on your own, it'd be quite overwhelming. It could be quite good to just like put dependency on someone and let someone take a portion of it off you. Yeah. Because there's a lot to juggle.
Yeah, 100%. I even noticed that myself because we started a little cafe this summer, and kind of like that, it's sort of a similar dynamic. I was kind of come up with ideas, like every day I come up with a sort of new idea, and it's like, oh, this is a great idea, and then I'd start it, but I'd be more inclined to kind of not finish it or not fully see it through and get caught up in another idea. But then Kate was always there, like, what are you doing? We have to get this done. It's like she was really just someone who kind of drives something through after the initial euphoria of coming up with the idea, maybe.
Exactly. Until you have another idea that gives you a new bit of dopamine that you're chasing for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you get the dopamine hit when you finally see something through too.
That's true. Definitely.
I don't know if you're a big reader, but if you are, what would be your favorite books that have kind of had an impact in your drive to start the business? Or would there be any, maybe more articles or even podcasts?
It's hard to say, because like the majority of the books that I read are fiction, to be honest. I don't really read too much kind of like business side books or like marketing books or anything like that. Paddy's he's quite into that.
Or like self-development books?
Yeah, I don't really read any of that. I don't know if I'm kind of a bit arrogant or ignorant to it. I like to do everything myself. And I don't like rules and structure that I don't make myself, if that makes sense to you. So I kind of run away from them things, even though I know they definitely can be helpful. And I tend to just like fiction books because it's like a nice little break to kind of not think about them things. Although there was one book I did read, it didn't really push me in towards business, but just had a massive impact on my life, was a book called Fingerprint of the Gods.
Fingerprint. Yeah. Oh, that's by, I know him.
Do you want to know him?
Yeah, please tell me.
It's Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant book, amazing book.
A much featured guest on Joe Rogan.
I think he's one of Joe Rogan's very favorites, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him a good few times, but yeah. But would you consider that fiction?
No, that's not fiction. I guess his alternate history is what he'd probably call it, like, or well, no, he would call it history.
Yes.
Yeah. That was
skeptics
great.
Might not.
The skeptics, yeah. That was one book like I hadn't read in like properly in a couple of years, and then that just like really just drew me in, and then I actually started reading again after that. But that was the first book in a long time that just like absolutely grabbed me, and I couldn't put it down. I nearly had insomnia for a while. I was reading it so much I just wouldn't go to bed.
A real page turner.
A real page turner, yeah. I actually ended up reading like 5 or 6 of his books after that, but yeah, it was very good.
Wow, yeah. I was like that as well. Like I never read a book in years upon years, and then I kind of got into self-development books. And I kind of, One in particular I really like was, what's it called? Psycho-Cybernetics. It was written in the 50s by a plastic surgeon.
Okay.
So the plastic surgeon was seeing patients coming into him over and over again to look for an ear reduction or a nose reduction or something, because they felt in their head that they had something about their appearance that made them ugly, and they had self-esteem or confidence issues because of it. But then he kind of discovered and made a theory that it was all to do with the self-image and how you see yourself, not actually how you do look.
Okay. Like a dysmorphia kind of.
Yeah, dysmorphia, yeah. Yeah, no, very interesting book. And yeah, written in the 50s. So I like books like that are, really delving into the mind, that are actually from way back in the day. And you read them and it's like, oh, it's still completely relevant today.
That's interesting. And have you read much books like that? Did you get much benefit from reading them?
I definitely got benefit. I like all them sort of books, self-help books in particular, they'll have like, tasks or things for you to do at the end of each chapter. I've never really done any of the things. I kind of just read the books. Actually, more into audiobooks actually. So I don't even have the book to to actually know what the task is once you're finished driving around, and because I listen to it, I'm driving around. But I think just literally just consuming that information even while you're driving around, it can't be not beneficial.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it's dead time really, isn't it, when you're driving around? So
exactly, man. And it's 10 times better than listening to daytime radio or pop music in general, I think.
Exactly. That's just does the opposite. That's probably even damaging.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting. There's actually a book I did read. What is it called? It was quite a similar name to what you said there. It's the something biotic revolution, microbiotic revolution.
I'm not sure. I've never heard.
Very interesting book. Is wrote by this woman I think she was from America, but it was she got 2 PhD professors from Cork University. It's a really famous book, and they were looking into the gut biome,
the microbiome.
The microbiome, yeah. And what they kind of theorized and they backed up with all their studies was that a lot of anxiety and depression, most of that is caused by inflammation, which then sends certain signals to your body for distress. And where a lot of that information comes is your gut.
Yeah.
So what they were saying was that diet, or like, just not having a lot of fiber in your diet and stuff like that, or even exercising, which releases certain hormones. If you don't do that, you're at a higher risk of developing anxiety or depression, because your gut is inflamed and your gut is your second brain, and it literally talks to your brain every day, and it's sending the signals for food. I feel good. I feel happy, whatever. So that was a super interesting book. And that actually kind of did get me a bit into the health side of things. Maybe why we end up kind of thinking about a health product overall. But yeah, that was a super, super interesting book.
Yeah, I remember hearing about microbiome in college what was it, second year? So that was 2016. Yeah, it was really fascinating. But it was still not very discussed or not very heard of at that time. And it's a lot more discussed now, the second brain, within the gut. But yeah, it blew my mind actually when we learned about that in college.
It's kind of bizarre to think there's trillions of little dudes living inside you that can get upset and angry if you don't appease them.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm wrong, but was it something to do with, when you're out of sync, you're out of alignment, or, if you're maybe more anxious, it's because there's actually more of a certain type of bacteria?
I think so.
In ratio to other. But again, it all depends on, like, your microbiome in perfect balance could be a totally different makeup of microorganisms than mine.
Exactly. And the thing is as well is like, but even when you take like antibiotics, it's a big reason they don't want to give people antibiotics, not even just antibiotic resistance, but even just having those antibiotics flushes out your biome at the time. So, like a lot of people
it's like a nuclear bomb.
Like a nuclear bomb, just clear the whole thing and you move on, like, you know what I mean? That's why a lot of people say to take probiotics if you're taking an antibiotic, so like some sort of yogurt or something. But like it seems to just like control massive amounts of your mood.
Yeah. There's so much we don't know.
Literally, there's so much you learn, even just from podcasts themselves. Like you just pick up so much little bits of information you can put into your own life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, what would you consider the most worthwhile thing that you've done in your life? This is a big one. And can you tell us a bit about it, please? It could be worthwhile for like yourself, anyone else, or like a group of other people, something like that.
It's hard to say. Like, if it was like along the lines of accomplishment, I think qualifying as an actuary, even though being an actuary isn't like necessarily my passion, but that was a seriously long process. Like that was having to get a certain number of points in the leaving cert, and then having
it starts early.
It starts early, yeah, and then you do your 4 years in college. But even within that, you need to pass 8 actuarial exams in college that are like accredited by the society outside of college. So I got them, and then after that, sort of 4 or 5 years working 40 hours a week and studying 40 hours a week. And those exams are so much more difficult. Like you can only really do one at a time, sometimes two. And the pass rate's like 65 to 70%. So it's real cutthroat. That was a lot. Like,
so you consider those exams are more difficult than the actual exams through college?
Yeah, because to be honest, well, I don't know. Some people think it's kind of different. It's depending on, I don't know what you kind of like. So for me, I love maths, pure maths. I love learning about linear algebra. I love learning about statistics. I love learning about code and cryptography. I love the real sitting down with a piece of paper and figuring stuff out with just theorems and proofs and stuff.
So it has an actual answer, a perfect answer that you can find.
Yeah, exactly. And like you're kind of just sitting there, nothing else going on, and just figuring out this problem solve this problem, and these are your tools. And you still do that today, just in a different way. But the exams after college became more about thinking about the environment, the economic environment as a whole. So all the different factors that come in. So it's less technical. I would say, like, not as much maths was being used, not as much like higher level maths would be used. Whereas it was more like, okay, you're good at maths, you have them skills, that means you're a problem solver. Because that's all really a maths degree is showing you, that you can solve problems. And then apply that now to the real world. Still able to do it, but I just much prefer the technical stuff. While if you ask some other people, they will say they hated studying about probability distributions, but they don't mind studying about insurance premium. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very much love-hate.
Definitely love-hate. But yeah, I'd say that was like maybe the biggest accomplishment. But like I think maybe more what's been the most meaningful is like since kind of going vegan and starting this journey in ASAP has given me a lot more like satisfaction, and there's a lot more passion involved than it would be for like my day-to-day job.
Mm-hmm.
Even just the impact on my health, just impact. And even at home here, people like my family and house have all kind of gone veggie vegan, and like the different food we make, like we're all better cooks because of it. We eat way more healthy. We explore different foods, more open to things. I think it's definitely been super impactful.
Nice, man. That's you're a force for good in the world. You're improving diets.
Yeah, you feel like if you can just change one person at a time's diet to be a little bit healthier, then you're doing something good, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you do something in the world and, you know, it positively affects even, like you say, one person, you know, that's definitely something worth doing.
Exactly. And help a few cows as well.
Yeah, the poor cows, man, they have a hard time.
They have it rough.
So that was probably the biggest success that you had to work and grind for.
The grind.
Years?
Yeah, well, to be fair, the grind to get our drinks produced was one of the most stressful experiences of my life, because we just kept on getting pushed back every 2 or 3 weeks. Like it took us an extra 6 months to actually get the drinks in our hand.
No, when you say pushback, do you mean pushback from people who were advising you, or pushback were people telling you maybe that, you know, it's not going to be successful, you know, not to bother?
No, it's from the manufacturer, right? So what was happening was we ended up doing 16 rounds of samples. And so what would happen was we would talk to the manufacturer online because they weren't close to us. So they'd have to ship it to us. And they send us, like, let's say the chocolate and the vanilla and strawberry, which we're trying at the time, but we went with chocolate and vanilla for the 2 milkshakes. So they would send them to us. It would take them about a week to prepare them, or 10 days. And then we would taste them, we didn't like one thing, like, okay, the stevia is slightly too high. There's a little bit too much coconut in that, like chocolate flavor's not coming through. We'd be tweaking one bit at a time and it end up being 16 rounds. So that in itself took a long time. But on top of that, it was when we were finally ready to go. Like we had agreed, okay, these are perfect. Let's move on to production. That was another couple of months, or even 3 months nearly, because we kept being told a date. Let's say, okay, we're going to make the drinks on the 10th of March. It would come to the 10th of March, and the day before, they would email us saying, we can't fit you in this production run. The bottles don't work. There's some issue with something. Like you name it, they had a problem, and it just kept on getting pushed and pushed and pushed. We basically had a meeting with them and said we were going to go elsewhere. And then lo and behold, they had met them within about 2 weeks. But like that was an incredible grind. Just like getting so close every time to being told the day before. And the most irritating thing with that was we were telling everyone,
yes,
okay, when we produce it, 4 weeks we'll launch, because we'll get all of our marketing done, we'll all of our pictures done. So we kept having these dates, and we kept having these food festivals we were supposed to go to, like Taste of Dublin.
You didn't even have a product then?
No, but we had planned, because we were supposed to go to like the Taste of Dublin or all these other ones, because they told us that we'll produce them on this date, so then we could plan forward.
Of course, yeah.
But then we never got them on this date.
Yeah.
So that was a grind and a half.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Like
has there been any issues like that since you've got, the initial product launched? Have they, for like a second or third batch, have they messed around like that, or have they been on the ball?
No, so we haven't got another batch yet, because we've got a huge order, which we'll get through. But do we put in another order maybe early next year? I'd say most likely. Excuse me. What we've done is we've kind of pre-booked certain ingredients so there's things called lead times. So if you want to get something produced or made, anything, they'll tell you, okay, there's a 10-week lead time or a 2-week lead time or 10 days. That's how long until they'll actually start.
Oh, until they start to make the product.
Yeah, exactly. And then it'll arrive to you hopefully pretty quick. So we had about a 12-week lead time, but because we pre-booked certain ingredients, that's gone down to like 4. So we'll put an order in a month's time, we should get them.
So can you explain that in a bit more detail? You pre-book the ingredients with the manufacturer themselves? Yeah,
so how a co-manufacturer works is they produce products for lots of different companies.
Yeah.
So basically what they're doing is they're like contracting out manufacturing. So what they call co-manufacturers. So because we don't have the money to set up a plant right now.
Of course, yeah.
Because we're a small company and we're growing. So you basically outsource everything to them. And you have 2 options. You can go and buy the ingredients yourself, and that's a huge order. So you have to buy like 10 tons of cocoa powder and like 20 tons of protein powder. And I don't know where you're going to store that. Like out the back.
You need a few shopping trolleys.
Yeah, exactly. Put in the shed out the back. But what you can do is you can like ask them what their ingredients are and see, okay, can we use them and maybe substitute a few things out and just work with what you have, because then we don't have to buy the big bulk order. They already have it. So we can just use bits off it, and it's cheaper because you buy in bulk. But certain things like our natural flavorings, let's say, they're specific to us because we found one we really liked, and we just booked that in advance for next time. So they bought future stock that we can use for our next run.
Okay, so they bought it.
Yeah, and that will save us a lot of time.
Okay, yeah. So like, what was you mentioned? It's from 12 weeks the initial lead time to 4 weeks.
It can be like because the reason is some of those ingredients have a 4 to 8 week lead time, and then they themselves have 4 week lead time. So if you don't have the ingredients, that could push out to 12 weeks, which like is a crazy amount of time when you're trying to go to shops. If you run out of stock for 3 months, you're gone.
Yeah. And I suppose you're lucky in a way that none of your base ingredients do they have a small shelf life? Or
yeah, so no, not really. So basically everything we use, once you mix it into the drink, what happens is they have it's called UHT.
Yeah.
So you mix up the drink, and the ingredients that we put into the drink usually they have quite a long shelf life. Maybe bar coconut cream would probably be the one that has the smallest shelf life, but our manufacturer will use that in certain different products, so there's a decent rollover for that or turnover. But for our drinks, once you mix them, it's mixed in their machinery, and then it's heated up to a certain temperature. It's sort of like pasteurizing milk,
Yeah.
where all the bacteria is killed.
Yeah.
So then you basically have a super long shelf life drink. So I think ours is 12 months, which is actually huge for going to retail, because if you're a product that's going to go off in 3 or 4 weeks and you're in storage at the back and they forget about you, they just lose money. So that's kind of one of the number one things you actually get asked for in retail is your shelf life.
Yeah. So that's the retailer, is it protects them. So in the scenario you just mentioned, if they lose the drinks out the back and forget to put them on the shelf or misplace them, then it's only them that's going to lose money, because they have initially purchased them for a flat price off you.
Exactly. They purchase it off you and then they sell it to the customer with a margin that they make money on.
Yeah.
So like if you're going to bring out a short shelf life product, it's a really hard sell if there's products that exist that have a longer shelf life, unless you're absolutely amazing and you're going to fly off the shelf. Like fresh milk will fly off the shelf because everybody needs milk, and butter and cream.
Well, they think they do.
We think they do. I'm sure there's a lot of waste. But yeah, like you need to get the long shelf life. It's the first question they ask. The other question they always ask is, can we store it not in a fridge, like out the back, because the fridge costs money to run.
Of course, yes.
It's a huge one too.
It's what, 6, 7, 8, who knows how many times more expensive to run a fridge this year than last year.
That's a good point. Yeah. So actually, do you know what? It's a good point, because there's a company that we know called you might know it as well. Actually, it's a vegan sandwich company.
I like sandwiches.
You like sandwiches, and they're vegan ones. They are nice, but they actually had to close their doors. They were in Grafton Street and Smithfield because of the cost of.
They had 2 stores.
They had 2 stores. Yeah, they closed both of them.
Closed both.
Both, yeah, because the rent doubled in Grafton Street over the last 2 years, and then the price to just run the place, electricity, gas, everything just went through the roof. They couldn't afford it. And bear in mind, these would have been one of the big players. Like they have products in Super Value and Tesco everywhere.
That's crazy. That's crazy. You know, and looking at it objectively, you know, just after saying that, if we are, as people are predicting, on the cusp of, you know, another downturn, economic downturn, a recession, it's all about what companies are resilient and able to, you know, withstand the lack of liquidity or a lack of cash, and like you're saying there, with a long shelf life, that can only bode well.
Exactly. No, it really does. And like, it's kind of the difference, because if you're fresh food or if you're a restaurant, you literally need to sell that on the day that you make it or the week that you make it. And you get hit with some heavy bills. Your liquidity is usually quite low because you're just buying ingredients and flipping that into food constantly. So one bad month puts you in a bad rut, if you know what I mean. And that can like get overwhelming. And I guess that's why some have to close.
Absolutely. And even on the waste, you know, from the cafe that we had, we encountered a good bit of waste, but luckily we were, you know, a very small operator. You know, if we use full fat milk, dairy milk, we might have 1-2 liters to bring back. It has to be used because we're only open on the weekend, so we're only open Saturday, Sunday. So unless something goes dreadfully wrong, we'll only have 1 open milk at a time.
And how did you find, actually, like in Carrick and Shannon, the amount of people who drink normal milk? Or
that's interesting. Yes. So what would you assume? Like, because we offered cappuccinos, lattes, flat whites, you know, all the standard milky drinks, and we didn't track it, but I would hazard a guess that it was 90% of our sales were just, you know, full fat milk, not even light milk, just full fat milk, just regular. Okay. I was surprised. I thought that there would be more. So we offered oat milk as our non-dairy milk.
Yeah, definitely the most popular as well.
Yeah, and it mixes quite well for like a cappuccino or latte. Yeah, I was quite surprised. And what I did find is that a lot of the groups that came in to do kayaking were younger people.
Okay.
They were the ones that were having oat milk, and more female than male as well. So younger females were definitely the highest purchaser of oat milk coffee drinks.
Without a doubt, yeah. Like I know from like our research, and we looked into plant-based milk at the start, that there was a crazy stat where it was 75% of women between the age of 25 and 35 have at least used plant milk in a year. And then it was something along the lines of like 2/3 of that group were making the switch, which was huge. And then it drops significantly for men, as I'm sure you've seen, and then older people as well. It drops quite low. But that demographic seems to be like the real force behind it, pushing it.
And that's very interesting. That's literally pretty much what I just described. So
Pretty much. It was funny, like you mightn't think it, but in most cases, women drive change in retail and food because they're more likely to try new things and they're more likely to buy more in shops. While lads are a lot more regimented than what they buy.
Yeah.
You go in and they just get their chicken, get their beef, get their milk, get the few bits they need, get their spuds. Yeah. But while girls are a lot more open to it, and like it's across like any of the sort of new products in the kind of vegan world or vegetarian or health food, it's kind of nearly all driven mostly now by the female demographic.
Yeah, very interesting. So on that then, do you think you're going to target females rather than males with your social media or even regular media advertising campaigns?
It's kind of hard to say. So it was definitely, we knew from the beginning that that's our target market for sure. So we don't not target them. But we don't not target other groups as well. What we usually target is around the ages of like 18 to 35, but also older people older than that as well. But what we've just found is that seems to be where the majority of sales lie, or even just the majority of interest. So there might be people who click on our Instagram or will watch our videos or look at our posts. When we use influencers, it's definitely we get more attention from female users 100%. And we also find that like it's the influencers we use that if we use someone, let's say if we use an influencer who's into health and she's got a certain amount of followers and a loyal following, it's mostly female, a lot more of them will purchase and buy because they trust her. Whereas lads seem to be a bit more distrusting of influencers or that whole culture. They don't seem to really take much heed off it. Yeah. So that's kind of what we've noticed. So we definitely try to be open because like we are for everybody and everyone can drink us. And like one thing that actually has been shown to us that's quite a good market is people who are gluten-free or not gluten-free, gluten intolerance, or people with any allergens at all because we have no allergens. And we noticed when we did like that the veg festival a couple of weeks ago, you might see people coming up to us asking, was there gluten in it? Was there this in it? Was there soy in it? Because they all have different like reactions to that. Yeah. That was a huge market too. But I do think it's definitely growing from the male side of it, but females definitely are like at the forefront of changing that area.
Yeah. And just for anyone listening, if there is anyone listening, so your drink is gluten-free and what else?
So it's no allergens at all. So it's completely allergen-free. So we've gluten-free, dairy-free, nut-free, soy-free, cruelty-free.
Fantastic. Great stuff. And talk to us a bit about VegFest. You mentioned VegFest there. I couldn't make it that weekend. It's from my reading, it's Dublin's largest vegan festival, or Ireland's probably.
Yeah, I think it's Ireland's. There's a few of them on across Europe. So there's one in London, I think, in 2 weeks. I think they're a brand, or they're at least part of a bigger.
Yeah, VegFest itself is a brand.
Yeah, I think so. Unless they just copied the name, they could have just done that either. But yeah, it was really cool. So like basically it was about 30 or 40 vegan Irish companies or brands selling and showcasing their products. So it was our first real chance to go and meet like people who follow us on Instagram, people who bought our drinks, show it off to new people.
And did people, sorry to cut in, did people who found you through Instagram or through social media, did they then find you in real life at VegFest and come up and chat?
Yeah, that was the main thing. So many people will come up to us, and it was funny because people keep coming up to us. They'd be like, "We've seen you somewhere, we don't know where," And I knew where because I had ads going on Instagram, and I knew I'd find that's where they seen me or seen us. And they're like, "No, I've seen you. I just didn't want to buy because I don't like to buy from brands I don't know who's behind it, or
Absolutely.
you know what I mean, like that." So once a lot of people have met myself for business partner Paddy, we just start seeing a few orders flowing through from the people who met us that day. But yeah, a lot of people were just happy to meet the people behind it and ask us questions, like ask us about different ingredients. Why didn't we do this? Why did we do that? Our rationale. And just get people to taste it who haven't tasted it. Because the thing is, we're doing our retail rollout at the minute. So we're in about 40 stores, and that's going to grow.
40?
But 40, yeah. Yeah, so it's growing. And the thing is, online you buy six bottles or 12. So some people hadn't tried it because it was in the store near them, and understandably didn't want to buy 6 bottles without trying it. So we had loads of people come and try it, and like the vast majority loved it. So yeah, it was also just great to talk to people and kind of showcase what you built.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah. And the other thing which is great was meeting all the other Irish brands. Like we met so many people. Met a really cool company actually, or this girl had a company called Banana Melon or something like that, but she was making vegan cheese. But that's actually very, very good. Like really good. And it's just made from cashews, water, salt, and then whatever she puts in, like truffles or chilies or whatever. And she ferments it. And it sort of somehow forms like cream cheese texture. But it is beautiful.
Wow.
So I'm excited for her to launch that product.
Yeah, vegan cheese. That's definitely somewhere where vegan food products can improve. I've had vegan cheese, and I wouldn't be a huge fan, but
no.
A cashew
I
nut.
basically just don't eat cheese because I don't like any of the vegan cheese, to be honest. It's something about it. It's oily or sticky or gooey. It's just not.
Yeah,
it's not cheese.
Yeah. Again, we made cheese in college one time with a like a, what is that? A cheese net or cheese wire? I'm not sure. Like a cloth.
Oh, cheesecloth, yeah.
No, cheesecloth, that's it. Cheese wire. Isn't that like the thing Hitman uses, Agent 47?
Yeah, that's what he uses, yeah.
But yeah, it's a weird process. It's weird seeing it happen. Everything just curdles up, and it's just like, ugh.
What do you use to curdle it? Because I know with like vegan milks, that's how you make tofu. Tofu is just soy milk. You put in lemon juice or nigiri, and it just curdles up. Mm-hmm. Take out the curdles and you squeeze it all the water, and that's tofu.
Oh. Sounds appealing.
So is tofu just cheese?
Wait, have we been lied to all along?
I don't know, maybe.
I don't know. Actually, I can't really remember that class, but I remember that's what whey was. I think whey and casein have something to do with that as well. The protein products. I think it's the whey that comes out, and then the cheese. No, I'm talking nonsense now.
Do you know what? Actually, there's an interesting company in the US, and they're releasing this next year. So basically, what they've done is they've figured out a way to replicate casein, but not through a cow. So I think they started with an original cell from a cow, and they're using yeast to ferment whatever form of casein they're making and make cheese. But the difference in this and other vegan cheeses, this is going to be bioidentical to real cheese. So it will be cheese, just not from a cow.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Does that dance across the line of what is and what isn't vegan?
It might do, but I mean, like, a cell doesn't have to be taken in a bad way. And I think if you're really going to get into the like semantics of that, that's just a little bit pedantic, really. Like if you're, it's like a small, tiny thing for a greater good.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's supposed to be amazing. Like it's supposed to be cheese, like actually cheese. I think some company invested 120 million into them this year because they showcase that this is going to work. So that could be the change of all that. You could actually get some nice cheese.
Yeah.
It's be buzzing.
I might go downstairs and get some cheese. I'm starving. But that sounds like a brilliant idea, to be honest. Actually, if you can take cells without harming an animal and then you can recreate in a lab. Wow, yeah, I never really thought of it like that. Because the way I would have thought about, food is, or vegan or non-vegan food is, on the one hand you have an animal and you have to abuse it and use it to get the food product, and on the other hand you don't go near animals. But that's quite interesting there now.
Do you know, it's kind of similar if you think about it to like those companies making the meat, lab grown meat. Because I think they would start with an initial culture or a cell or something to replicate beef and then, or chicken or whatever they're making. I don't know the process for making it, but I think they do start with like an initial, at least DNA or something to create that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it makes complete sense now. I never really thought about it in any great detail. Man, in 10 years' time, the food products on offer is going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy. Like I was talking to someone before about this, and I see a lot of the big tech companies is going to be food tech.
Yeah.
So like, you know, like Beyond Meat and all these companies, it's almost becoming like big tech is taking over food with all these kind of innovative products that they're bringing out.
Big tech's coming for every industry.
Yeah. Pretty much seems to be that way.
Even real life.
Yeah, we'll all be hooked up to the metaverse.
The metaverse, yeah. Oh, can't wait.
Yeah, should be good. Go on holidays that way.
Yeah, exactly. Don't even have to leave the couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure. We'll jump straight back into the questions here. So
yeah, go on.
So what would you consider your biggest failure in life? Be it business, relationship, anything like that you've had to face and overcome?
It's kind of hard to say. One thing that was hard to overcome for a long time was when I tried to move to Australia. Maybe I think it was just before COVID started, so it was January 2020. Quit my job, sold everything. Literally just like got rid of the house I was staying in, got my name off the lease and just went with like a backpack and whatever money I had. So the plan was to go to Australia after traveling Asia for 3 to 4 months. Got Asia traveling in, got as far as Bali. COVID hit hard and we couldn't get in anywhere. And we're getting kicked out of Bali more or less. They didn't want us there. And then Australia couldn't get a visa. So then it was to come back home to COVID, and them 2 years were a real sickler. They were sickler for everyone, really, let's be honest. But it took me a while to kind of like let that go. Just kind of like what could have been. There's no point living in the past. But it took me very bitter for maybe nearly 2 years about that whole thing. So like, you know, even doing things like the company, I would have put that on the long finger because I was just annoyed and felt like I needed to go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a real kick in the ass. But yeah, it definitely would have been. It's not necessarily a failure because there's nothing you could do, but it was probably something that took me a while to get over.
Yeah, absolutely. But then, in the Stoic principle of amor fati, trying to find the best in every situation that you're presented, you probably, with all the free time of working from home and living with your business partner, you probably had the ideal breeding ground to get the business up and running and off the ground.
It's funny, it's true though, isn't it? It's like you never would have got that much time to just think about things and figure things out. And like a huge thing was like remote working. My industry, working as an actuary, that was just a no. I remember when I worked in EY, we had laptops that we could bring home. Because a lot of times in companies, you would actually just work on a big, hard drive PC on your desk and you wouldn't bring it with you when you leave.
Oh, yeah.
But EY, we had the little laptops.
That was the dark days, the old days.
That was the dark days, yeah. That was the dark ages. Once that changed, and but I remember I wasn't even allowed to do that. We couldn't even work from home 1 day a week in EY without signing like all these HR forms.
Mad,
and stuff.
Isn't it? Absolutely mental.
And you have
fast
to go
forward a couple of years, and
it's gone.
They don't want you in the office.
No, they actually don't, because they want to downsize and they don't want to pay for it.
They don't want to pay them electric bills. They don't want to pay them.
Exactly. It's just gas, like getting up 5 days a week, putting the suit and tie on and freezing cold and going in miserable in the piss and rain. And like all you need to do was be able to just work at your desk, and that just changed everything. It really did.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. What do you think?
It's a completely different world though. I mean, even like traveling and going on holidays, and look, I don't even use my holidays as much anymore because I'll go to a city and I stay there for a month, and I maybe would take a couple, like maybe Fridays off or Mondays, maybe do some long weekends. But I can experience the city, and once you're working, you have a bit of structure, so you're actually living a kind of normal sort of life there. You can just travel and see so many things without having to use your holidays because you can just work on your laptop. Like it just opens up the world of so many possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
That wouldn't happen without COVID.
Exactly, man. Exactly. You know, and that is seeing the best of the situation. Like, it has turned the world upside down, and you know, it's not really looking like it's going to turn around or, you know, go back to what it was.
But I don't see how you could though, because if you were an employer and you said, right, look, we're going back to 5 days a week, you know, some people might stay, but everyone's gone. Most people will go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to the company that's offering the good benefits.
Exactly.
Because they're already there, I don't think you can ever take them away.
Exactly. You know, that's one great thing about capitalism. If one company is going to offer, is going to offer, you know, work from home, and they're not even going to care where home is, then how are you going to compete with that? That's where the talent goes. That's what?
That's where the talent goes.
Exactly. That's where the talent goes. It's funny actually, because I know the central bank, Irish central bank anyway, they're back to 50% in the office. So
really,
over a 2-week period. So you can do 1 week in the office and then 1 week at home, or 2 days, you know, in the office and then 3 days at home, and then 3 days in the office and then 2 days at home. But that's what they're meant to be doing anyway, I think. Whether that keeps up or not, don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Do you know, I just kind of feel like that's just such a manual overhead for anyone to have to keep track of for no real reason.
Yeah, and then it goes back to, like, you know, if their office can hold, I don't know, this is arbitrary numbers, can hold 10,000 people, you know, before obviously COVID, but they're only having 50% of the people, let's say, you're only having 5,000 people in the office at any one time, then you're heating the whole office. You know, you're running the whole office when you probably don't need it. So, exactly. Yeah, funny see how that one goes.
Yeah, so, I mean, especially with the. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, please, you go.
No,
ahead.
I was just going to say, with the price of fuel and everything, it's going to get more pushed to work from home.
Yeah, the cost of living crisis, everything, man, everything is the crisis these days.
Literally, you name it, it's a crisis.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, when you turn your screens off, you know, you switch your social media off, and you just kind of go about daily life. Nothing feels any different anyway.
That's true. There's no crisis impending.
Yeah.
Around the corner that we know of.
Yeah, except when you go to pay for diesel, or
except when you hop in the car, turn the lights back on.
Yeah. Panic stations.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Cian, you're obviously a very, very busy dude. You got a lot going on. But what would you do for a release? What's your favorite sort of, like, release? Physical, mental, anything like that? I know for me, what I love doing, one of the things I love doing is, like, playing Astro 5-a-side, because it's just something I can jump into an hour, and when I'm in playing, you know, it's intense and the ball is moving about a lot. There's no real lulls. You're always kind of active. You're always kind of thinking, okay, where am I going to go? Where am I going to get the ball? Next thing, it's over. Boom. But then, you know, you've just spent an hour. You've got a good bit of exercise in. You got your mind completely switched off from everything, business, relationships, everything in the world. You've literally just been thinking about trying to catch a little ball.
Put the ball in the net.
Yeah.
No, it's kind of in a similar way. Like, for me, the gym is quite like that. It's kind of like meditation. I find it's going in with a sort of with a goal that I want to be stronger than last time I was there, and all other thoughts are kind of gone. You're sort of in like a meditative state. It's, you know, it's just like even just the process of lifting weights. It's like it like you are being mindful of doing that and nothing else. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of is like mindfulness practice, because you need to be aware of what muscle you're using, or if you want to do it correctly. So you need to be mindful of that. So that's what your mind is focused on. I know that's about an hour or so, similar to Astro. And like, that just is a great release, I find. Like, any exercise is a great release, but it's just, even the same as running, your mind is just detached from the problems of the day or how busy you are. And like, it's just super important, because like, without that, you're just leading yourself to burnout, which can happen very, very easily. But I love that. And, you know, I also like to give myself an hour even before bed, where that's to read or to go down the YouTube rabbit hole or something, just to for a bit of fun almost, like, but just to disconnect from everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's important too. Like,
yeah, I would 100% echo that sentiment. It's very important. You know, you need to take as much as, you know, grinding and working as hard as possible is necessary, it's also maybe not completely as necessary, but quite necessary to switch off and to take time for yourself to just relax a little bit.
Without a doubt. I mean, like, you can only grind so much until you just burn out. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Like, and if you give yourself breaks and time to just enjoy yourself, relax, just disconnect, that pushes that way out. And like, it's cumulative. Like, if you just keep pushing, you're gonna break, and that's not productive to what you want to do, because you're going to be frustrated. You're not going to be able to work efficiently. Let's say,
yeah,
it's like sort of when you're doing exams, to not, even though I tend not to do this, but to not cram until like 20 minutes before the exam, is to just get a good night's sleep and just relax.
Oh, it's the best advice. It's just very hard to follow.
Yeah, very hard to do. Yeah, in theory, it's great, but yeah, it's just like that. You know, if you've got a rested brain, you're going to be able to work better.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. So something that you've bought in the last year that has had a positive effect on your life, like just even like a small thing, anything in general. For me, one thing in particular has been the AeroPress, which is,
what's that?
It is a coffee maker.
Okay.
I bought it for €33 in the shop that I used to get my coffee beans from. I came across it, seen it, was interested in what it was. A few weeks later, at the cafe, this guy, Hairy John, he came along, and he bought like 2 lattes that day from me, and he came along again, and he was like, "Yo, man, you got the AeroPress?" I was like, "What?" And he goes, "I've got." So he was living in like a camping trailer,
okay,
in the marina. But like, he was coming in and buying lattes, but he was like, "Yeah, I've got the AeroPress in the trailer. Have you ever seen it?" And I was like, "No, man, what is it?" He was like, "I'm going to get it." I was like, "Great." Came back with this AeroPress. So it's like it's hard to describe. It's like a tube thing. It's like a cylindrical tube.
Right. And
you have like filter papers, and you grind coffee beans, and you put them into the tube and sit on top of the filter, and then you press it. You let it brew for a certain amount of time, and then you press it through. It's not exactly an espresso that you make, but it's very similar to an espresso, and you get like a small shot of coffee.
I think I know. I think I've seen this before.
Yeah, and so yeah, the guy was just standing there smoking a cigarette and pushing his coffee through, annoying other customers just sitting. And I was like, "Oh, this AeroPress looks cool. I'm not even going to tell him to, put the cigarette out and stop annoying other people." But so he finally made the coffee and gave it to me, and I was blown away. It was so good.
Really?
It
tastes different, yeah.
It's like a French press, or like a cafetiere, the glass coffee maker. It's like that, but it's better. It doesn't leave any residual grounds at all, and I think it has a smoother and less acidic, a less sharp taste. Really, really good. Like I'll drink that. I drink that every day. I can bring it to work. So I got the AeroPress Go. So it's about the size of like a 12-ounce coffee cup.
Okay.
A little bit bigger. Bring it to work. Bring it hiking. Bring it surfing. Bring it anywhere. And all you need is hot water. So if you bring hot water in a flask and you have your AeroPress and your beans, you're good to go. You've got serious coffee wherever you are.
That is the job.
yeah. No, so it's, that €33, best €33 I spent this year. Probably the last 5 years. Maybe ever, Cian. Maybe ever.
Of all time.
Yeah. And it just so happened, after your man had shown me, I went in to buy my coffee beans. So I used to go in and pick them up myself. And they had them for sale. And I was like, "No way. Give me this."
That was the universe telling you something.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I believe them signs a lot more. A lot more. Like, I've been thinking something, and then a few weeks later, the exact thing will appear somehow in front of you. And now I'm like, okay, now I have to do this. Like, I literally just have to do this now.
Yeah, exactly. It could even be the fact that it was on your mind that you even noticed it more as a sign that you probably should get it, because subconsciously you want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, AeroPress Go. Couldn't recommend it highly enough.
Might have to look for that.
Yeah. But yeah, what about yourself? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Now I didn't actually buy it. I just kept on doing free trials and using new email addresses to do free trials.
Classic.
But was Ableton, that's just
yes.
been amazing. You know yourself, it's just great. Like that, to be able to just sit down and just like have a creative process, make something from scratch from your brain that didn't exist there before is just so much fun.
Absolutely beautiful. For anyone that doesn't know, Ableton is a DAW, which is a digital audio workstation for creating music. You can record music, but Ableton is more even. Ableton is actually more targeted towards live music, as far as I know. But yeah, just having a virtual synth, getting inside a DAW, and just spending hours just coming up with some wacky idea that was in your head. No, not even the idea that was in your head, but it just came to you as it was literally, as you were going.
It's so bizarre because you just start. You might pick something like a bass line or anything at all, and you have no idea where you're going to go with it. It's just whatever you're feeling at the time. You just end up creating something, and it's always never what you expected ever. Which is just a great process to do.
I absolutely love it.
Jamming away to your own tunes is a lot of fun.
yeah, and then showing people, and like the enthusiasm. Oh, listen to this. It's like
wrecking everyone's head. Listen, this filter cut off.
Yeah, and then you're there trying to explain every little minute detail. That did you hear what I did there? And I was like, no, I just heard the music.
Your ears pumping a bit more, compressing. I don't do anything, man.
And are you still, whenever you get a chance, would you still kind of tune in and try and create something?
Not as much as I'd like to because I'm just busy.
Yeah.
And like, I just find it sometimes with it, whenever you sit down, literally hours go by. Like you'll sit down, turn it on, 6 hours have gone by. I've never done that in my life. It's crazy. I've never done it in my life where time just disappears as fast. So I have to be tactical about when I use it because literally you can waste half a day just messing with like drums.
If you wake up on a Saturday, turn on your laptop, it's like Ableton. Oh shit! Now it's Sunday.
Yeah, I haven't even moved. Just part of this chair. Yeah, it's gas. Well, it just shows you like how much it just like captures your interest. But
the flow stage,
it's pure flow state, really.
And that's probably tying into what we were talking about earlier there in, like a release. That's a creative. That's nothing but a creative release from the rest of the world. But yeah, no, 100%. That's, couldn't agree more. Absolutely love sitting down and just creating something from scratch. Here's another bit of a deep one for you, Cein.
Go for it.
What advice do you have for your late teenage / early 20s self if you were that age in today's world?
I think maybe to just stop overthinking.
Stop overthinking? I
think so. I mean, like compared to when like we would have been like early teenagers compared to teenagers now, they just have so much stimulus, like, and so much to compare to.
Yeah.
So much like role models that aren't really role models, just through social media and the likes, that I'm sure so many people develop complexes about themselves more than we would have, even about the way they look, like their physique, like their butt, their hair, their nose, everything like is comparable to everybody online, even like making videos and their personality. Whereas like none of that stuff matters at all. You know, that's just, it's kind of like a reflection of your own insecurities. And if you're putting that in to people online, you're only going to further that because that's not real. You know what I mean? None of that is real life. That's all, either the best part of someone's life or Photoshop. So like, just spending so much time thinking about that and comparing to that is like, it's definitely just not good. No. But even just in general, to just not overthink, like you're never really going to plan what happens. You kind of just have to take it as it comes. And you never really end up doing what you set out to do anyway. So, overthinking the future, wasting energy on events that haven't happened yet, there's no point because they haven't happened yet.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. Well said. That's good advice for a young Cein.
He wouldn't listen to me.
He's thinking too much.
Yeah, he's overthinking it all. I tell him that and he'd overthink about
that. What's one thing that you do that other people might consider strange or not worth doing whatsoever?
Let me think. I cook like 5 or 6 times a day.
Really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
cook so much. Like our fridge here is just full of meals because I just cook all the time. I
Vegetables.
just all plants, baby. But yeah, no, I just love it. I don't know why I got so addicted to cooking. It was probably because going vegan, I had to be a better cook, and then I just got really into it.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like yesterday, I made some seitan from chickpeas and flowers, like kind of like vegan meat, from scratch, and I made like 3 or 4 different other meals. I wanted to try out some like Peking tofu thing I wanted to make, and like made these rice paper rolls and this all this stuff. Just love it. I spend all day cooking and eating, like in between working and doing a company. Like whenever like a 20 minutes spare, I usually go and just whip something up.
Yeah, fantastic, man. And I guess two things that you've kind of touched on there that you enjoy doing for your own sanity, working out and cooking, whereas that's probably literally the parents of what your business idea became.
Yeah, it kind of is. Like you think about it, because it's food and it's health and it's looking after yourself. And I mean, the protein definitely flows into like going to the gym and fitness. So it does pair very well with my lifestyle what I've created. And like I'm probably our own biggest fan, as I drink at least 1 or 2 of them every single day.
The gains,
so you can
baby.
trust me, they're good.
There you go, folks. This man is passionate about what he does.
Absolutely. I'm getting high on my own supply.
I love that phrase. What would be the best piece of advice that you've been given?
Apart from lefty loosey, righty tighty.
That stays with you for life.
I can remember the day I was told that as a kid. That stuck with me forever. I'm trying to think. I don't know. Like,
or what would be the worst piece of advice? You don't have to name and shame anyone though.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people who want to tell you how to do things or run things without ever having done it themselves.
Yeah,
you get a lot of them people once you set up a food company.
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to think. I actually can't really say, because there's nothing that's coming straight to my mind. One thing though, that actually this is quite a good piece of advice. I was a manager when I was working in EY. So I was working as an actuarial consultant at the time. And what we used to do, we would just get like a data dump from a company or a certain task a company wanted us to do. Like create a pricing model, do this, do that. And our partner, the fella who like ran the department, this lad had wrote a load of books in economics, is super intelligent man. And like he always told me, anytime you're going to present your work, anytime you're going to do a presentation, anytime you need to sit in front of someone and show them something, is just to develop a story. Always tell a story.
Tell a story.
Tell a story. And like for us, like with ASAP, there's a story there. And so when we go to shops, when we go to distributors, we go to anyone where we're trying to get a product in or to work with us, or even someone who wants to work with us, we need to tell them the story as well. And
yeah,
how it started, what we're trying to solve, why it's good for you, how it fixes a need that is there. But tell a story. It's massive. Like even for people in the working life, presenting, sales, anything like that. If you can just tell a story that grabs someone's attention and makes them maybe feel like they want to hear more, it's so much better than just dumping all your facts and stuff you learned on someone, because they don't necessarily care.
That is brilliant. That is very good advice. Tell the story, build the premise. Literally. And if it's something where you're going to get people, you're going to get people invested. You know, that's what you want to do. You want to persuade people to get on board with you. And what better way? You know, stories are, you know, they're older than the trees. Storytelling, for, you know, we're not older than the trees. They're the oldest thing we have. Like, they're older than written words. Like, stories have been passed forever. We were in not a training day, but like a conference day for health and safety within our company at work. And there was an hour-long theatre play. Okay. And there were 2 actors, and they were acting out scenarios that happened within a pharmaceutical company. One was a supervisor and one was a new employee. Basically, they were acting out poor workplace practices, and then we would analyze where they went wrong. This is part of the day. This is really cool. Like a really cool way to get the message across. And at the end of the last scene of the play was very hard hitting. One guy had made a big mistake. There was a catalogue of errors that led to one of the people being in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
Okay.
But it was very heavy, and then we were asking them people questions, the actors, after the final scene. But the whole thing was so much more hard hitting, and we were so much more on board than if it was the same thing acted out on a TV screen or a projector for us to watch. So yeah, fully 100% on board with that sort of piece of advice. Build a story, and for you to be there in person and to get your passion across as well.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you hit someone's feelings, or even if you create a need for them that they didn't know was there, they're going to want to hear more than if you just dump everything you have at someone. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah. 100. Nice. I'm gonna remember that one. Gonna steal it.
Work away, yeah.
Do you have like a productivity system that you use to keep on top of your stuff? So that I became really fascinated with the idea of productivity systems. I've started using this note-taking app called Obsidian. Okay. And I think it was a free note-taking app, and its biggest competitor would be an app called it's called Notation. Basically, it's a really, really cool and user-friendly way of keeping notes and like kind of building a database of your own collection. Okay. So I paired that with Google Calendars and an app called Todoist, and I think with the three of them things, it's completely flipped my life around in terms of how productive I am during the day. Like I'd be a bit of an airhead. Like I need like a to-do list, I need a calendar, I need solid notes that I can jump in and know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm meant to be doing, where I am. I don't know if you're the same as that, but that whole productivity system has really changed the game for me in the last few months in terms of what I've been able to do myself.
It definitely sounds like something I should probably look into, because I'm just chaotic. Like I kind of, the way I kind of do it is I set aside certain times that I'm going to work on stuff. So like lunchtime, I'll focus on ASAP stuff. Morning time, I'll probably focus on my actual job. And just like try to split things up. I'll go to the gym at the same time every day. I'll eat kind of similar times. I'll have my day kind of structured in that way. But I definitely could be better at giving myself certain tasks at certain times, because I'm kind of just like scatterplot brain, where I'll be working on something and I'll think of the next thing I need to do, and I'll be trying to get this done while starting this at the same time.
That dopamine hit, baby.
Yeah, get that dopamine in. Feels great to start something like. But no, I don't have anything in particular. But I do have a real like driven desire for outcome, so I need to get to the end of something. So I will always get it. I will always do it, because I won't rest easy until it's done. I actually remember one time in college, I couldn't figure out this theorem all day I was working on, and I went to bed and I woke up in the middle of my sleep with the answer, and I got up and wrote it down. Your brain's just going through training at night time. I was like, that's bizarre, but yeah.
And do you remember getting up and writing it, or did you just wake up to find this theorem left by a tooth fairy?
Something dropped it in my brain. Well, I must have been dreaming about it. Was this, when you sleep, it's just your brain a lot of the time is just like, fighters talk about this. They fight about, or they dream about fighting, because they trained all day and their brain is just like going over patterns. So it's just almost like training in your sleep. So yeah, whatever, I must have been running through my brain when I was sleeping, and I got the answer and woke up. But it's probably just more that I can't rest until I have the thing done.
Yeah. It's actually in that book, Psycho-Cybernetics, as well, a whole chapter nearly dedicated to when you're sleeping, or even if you go for a walk. I don't know if you go for walks, but I actually like going for walks as well, because like a lot of ideas come to me when I'm going for a walk, or if I'm in the shower. Just when you're doing a sort of low level activity, well, of course, that sleeping is completely different. But if you're going for a walk or in the shower, sort of ideas come to you. And in the book, he explains it quite well why it is, because you're thinking about it all day, and you're banging your head against the wall. But you just need that. You need to let your brain relax a little bit, and the idea will then actually come, because you have done the work. By thinking about it all day, you've actually done the work. You just need to give your brain a bit of respite and a bit of space to actually create, to find a way to the answer, because you actually have done the work. You just weren't giving your brain a bit of space to do brain things and be creative and find the answer.
It's kind of funny you say that, because myself and Paddy have a thing, we call it like driving meditations or driving thoughts. It's just when you're driving around. Again, that's exactly low level thing, and you just start having all these ideas coming to you because you're not trying to find them.
But that's what it is. Like whatever you're doing during the day, but you are thinking about things, but you're probably sitting there, you're too busy.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't just let the idea naturally come. But you can't just drive around all day and expect ideas to come.
Just walk for the whole day. At least my steps are in.
12,000, baby. Yeah. No, you got to put the work in as well.
You do.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Here, should we get to the last question?
Okay.
The final question. We'll wrap it up.
Let's go.
In 5 years' time, where do you see yourself?
That is tough. Could be anywhere, but like if I thought about it, like let's say with ASAP, what we want to do is we want to kind of be in nearly the majority of stores in Ireland within a year or two.
A year or two from now?
A year, hopefully a year, yeah. But definitely within 2 years. And then within a year's time, we want to start exporting. So we want to hit up the UK. We want to look into possibility coming into Germany, into France. And like each of those places will probably take a year or two to break. So protein drinks market in Europe, because we definitely have the best product in Europe. There's no one that tastes as good as we do.
Love the confidence.
No, for sure. There's
and I can vouch for that. I've had both flavors and they are absolutely fantastic. I can't even pick a favorite, because depending on the day, I would rather the chocolate or the vanilla. Yeah, they're both fantastic, delicious tasting. I can't believe that they're a vegan milk. Like, to be honest.
Yeah, just so you know, Fergal was around when we were doing the tasting at the start. He was a beta tester, you could say.
willing guinea pig.
Willing guinea pig. Well, because of all that, they turned out great. I'm glad to hear you like them, but they are. I know they are very good. So it would just be a matter of us getting out there, getting into these markets and driving it. So in 5 years' time, I want to see this as like as a pretty large sort of influence in the European market.
A household name. Brilliant, man. Brilliant. That's a savage 5 year goal. And the 5 years will be, they don't belong coming around either.
Sure. They're flying.
Yeah. I can't wait to be rolling through Germany in a little van and stop into Lidl or whatever supermarket is in Germany. Get my fix of ASAP.
We'll be there.
Maybe even new products, new flavors.
Yeah, new flavors, new ideas, new products. It's all been looked at.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, Cian, thank you so much for accepting the invite for the interview, and it's been fascinating. I've actually learned a lot myself. So thanks for that.
Yeah, no, look, thanks a million for bringing me on. I'm honored to be the first guest. that was a great chat.
Yeah, savage. And and so tell us what's the website that we can go to get some chocolate and vanilla protein milks.
Yeah, so it's asapvegan.ie, and then our Instagram is asapvegan. And if you happen to be in the Dublin, Kildare, Offaly, Mayo, Cavan, Monaghan, and soon to be Cork area, keep an eye out for us in Super Values and Cost Cutters and certain centres. And if you follow us on Instagram, we'll keep you up to date on what stockists we're in.
Fantastic. Thanks, Cian.
Brilliant. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much for listening to the debut episode of Locating Wisdom. I really appreciate it. Make sure and give ASAP a try out if you haven't already, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.